Welcome to the 12 Days of Christmas Beauty Brand Edition. If we've not yet met, my name is Aisha Bailey. I am a scientist and a certified skincare product formulator. I own a small R&D lab where we work with a series of skincare and hair care brands as they develop and bring their products to market. I'm also the founder of Skincare Startup, which is the host of this particular email series. And through my experience working with hundreds of brands, I have come to realize that there is almost one single defining factor that determines those brands that do very well, especially in the early days, versus those that don't do as well. And that single component is having a strong and well positioned brand. I'm not only talking about design, I'm talking about clearly understanding where their skincare or hair care line falls in solving problems for their specific customers. And without question, those brands or those entrepreneurs that invest the time and the money into developing a very strong brand tend to just do very well. And a big part of that is that a strong brand that is visually appealing and that is clearly well positioned tends to more quickly gain trust from potential buyers. And as such, they're able to grow their customer base very, very quickly. And what I'm hoping to do through this particular email series is to provide a series of tools and a long list of tips and tricks on how you can quickly develop a standout brand without having to hire very expensive graphic designers or having to sign up for really expensive software or having to spend a lot of time trying to figure out these complex software. You, even if you're not so trained, can develop a standout brand that can connect with the ideal customer for your products. I'm a scientist by training. I have never done a course in graphic design. I have done in my high school days a subject or a course for all intents and purposes in art. And that was, I think, between what we call first form and third form. So that's grade 7 to grade 9. And at that time, graphic design was not really a thing, at least not during high school. So a lot of what I've learned over the years have really been as a result of me serving lots and lots of entrepreneurs, many of which are funding their businesses out of their pockets. They do not have big budgets. They do not have the skill sets necessarily to learn about graphic design, but we have to still support them in the best way we possibly can to help them get their products to market. And there are cheap and free tools that are out there that can help every single bath and beauty brand, irrespective of how much investment you have into your business. You can develop a very strong and standout brand. So I'm very, very committed to this. I love using the tools that I'll present today, all of which are free for you to use. And as I said, I've developed my own expertise just by trying and testing. And in the same way, you can develop some expertise as well through trying and testing. So, what is most important during this particular email series are three main things. One, that you keep an open mind. So, do not um, kind of ignore that that kind of negative self-talk, where you convince yourself that you're not a graphic artist, you're not a graphic designer, you have no idea, how these colors work. Like, just take that out of your mind and just have an open mind as you go into this. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that done is better than perfect. So what we're aiming for is the best version of your startup emerging brand or your redesigned brand, as opposed to the perfect brand, because the perfect brand will never be. Even if you had the best graphic designer in the world, you would still not have the perfect brand because it doesn't exist. Okay, so that's the second thing that is very important to keep in your mind. And the third is that this is a 12-day or 12-step process. And what I'm forcing you to do or asking you to do is to stick with me through the 12 days. And I'm not asking you to sit down for the entire day and to go through this email series. What I'm asking you to do is to commit 30 minutes to 90 minutes at max to work along with me as we go through each specific step in helping you to create that standout brand. It will not be easy, but it will be so fulfilling, irrespective of where you are, whether you're a new brand, whether you're an established brand and you're just looking to upgrade your brand or to adjust your brand, whether you're just adjusting your brand slightly for a season. So let's say it's Valentine's Day is coming up and you want to do a small rebrand for that particular time. This could also work. If you happen to be offering services to others in the space, this could also help you as well. So once you are creating your own portfolio within the skincare and hair care space or personal care space, this can definitely work for you. Through each step of the process, I'll be using a specific set of resources, and those resources are accessible to you in three main ways. One, I will ensure that the cost to get the resource is fairly inexpensive. And so you have one option of just buying what you need when you need it. The second option is that you can buy the bundle. So it's the Beauty Brands That Sell toolkit. So it's a bundle of all the resources you will need to create that really amazing brand. So that would be your third option. And your fourth option, sorry, that would be your second option. And then your third option, if you are in the Bath and Beauty Brand Growth Hub, so that's our exclusive membership of skincare and hair care formulators and indie brands. If you're in the membership, all of this is available to you for free. And that's $27 per month. Cancel anytime. You can join anytime. And all the resources, along with many other things, will be available to you. Okay. So just so you are aware of what you will need going into this, before we get into the first step or day one, is once you have purchased or accessed your resource, either as I mentioned, by purchasing the individual resource or buying the Brands That Sell bundle, or as a member of the Bath and Beauty Brand Growth Hub, you will have access to a link that will take you directly to the resources I'm going through. If you have not purchased for whatever reason, it is fine. You can still follow along. You can still make your own version if you wish. It's just that it's going to take you much longer, especially if you're not very experienced in this space. It is just going to take you a lot longer. And sometimes all the time is money. So the longer it takes, you end up spending that money either in time or in real cash. But you can certainly just follow along as we go. You will need access to a Canva account. It is free to sign up. I much prefer the paid account because you have access to far more resources. But if you're not yet ready to do that, there are other ways that you can get access to some of those resources, and I will try to show you those as we go. You will need access to a Google account. There are some workbooks or worksheets that are also available in this bundle that will help you work through some of the branding areas. So you will need a Google account for those as well. That's also free. And everything here is customizable. So the resources that we're providing to you are simply templates for you to add your own brand and your own messaging. And this is a beauty of living in 2024, 2025, that the DIY space has just totally up-leveled in the past few years. You can be so many things because you have all of these very highly technical tools that don't require highly technical skill. So you can, if you follow along with me for the next 12 days, at the end of the 12 days, you will have a brand that can stand up to any big brand on the shelf, provided you follow the steps as I provide them, and that you, as I mentioned, keep an open mind, make the time available. And if you have questions, please feel free to share them in our Facebook group or to send an email at hello@skincarestartup.com. Okay, before we go there, every day you will be taken to, you'll be sent an email. So it's an email series. So for 12 days, the 12 days of Christmas, you will get an email with a quick review on a specific step that you will need to create your standout brand. And that email will give you a link to this particular page that will have the tutorial that you can watch. And as I mentioned, 30 to 90 minutes will be enough time for you to watch and to do the activities along with me so that you can come up with your own brand. As I mentioned, if you want access to the tools, they're all available for you. So you can just scroll down the page and it will explain to you where you can get the specific resource that I am using throughout the email series. All right, so day one, the first thing we're going to talk about is brand fundamentals. And this is a very, very important component to appreciate. As I mentioned, I've worked with so many different brands in many different ways. So either custom formulation, small scale manufacturing, training, consultancy, helping them to set up their own space. And one of the most common things I see is entrepreneurs simply deciding, oh, I saw somebody create some body butters on YouTube, and I can do that. It looks a lot like cooking, and I think I can do that. And clearly, the space of independent skincare and hair care products is growing. So I can definitely get a piece of that market. And what they do is just kind of quickly jump into, let me buy the materials and the packaging, and let me find more YouTube videos, or let me buy some formulations. And they start making, and they come up with products that, for all intents and purposes, are good products. And then they go on the market, get some containers, DIY some quick labels. They may hire a graphic designer to do some labels for them, and they go out on the market and they wonder why they're not gaining traction. The product is good, the labels might be good, but they're not gaining traction. And the reason why is that they have not established the why for their business. What's the foundation of the skincare or hair care brand that you have created? Why have you created it? And how will it actually be a solution to the person who is using it? And this particular step is so important. And as I mentioned before, without question, it is the number one thing that differentiates a brand that's doing very well versus a brand that is just not gaining traction. The owner is giving up. It's really because they have not really distinguished themselves in the market. And that's effectively what a brand is. A brand is the way in which you distinguish yourself from every other brand on the market. And that's not something that you can find on YouTube in a body butter tutorial. This is actual inner work that you have to do, and you have to develop, so that your branding and your messaging and the way you connect with potential customers, current customers, will be very deep and very purposeful. So brand fundamentals are gonna be critical, and it's the reason why we're starting here. So when you get your resource and you click on it, you should get to a page like this, and this will be the case for all the resources. You will get to either a Google Doc or a PDF that gives you access to the resource that we're going to be working through. And you're just going to click use template, and I would recommend that you create a folder in your Google Drive, and you save. So I'm going to, for example, I'm just gonna make a copy just to, okay, we're in my drive. So I'm just gonna create a folder. I'm just gonna create a quick folder. I'm just gonna change the name because it's already in my drive, and I'm just gonna call that tutorial. But for you, if you already have a brand name, I know you may not, you may be at the very early stages. If you already have a brand name, you can give it whatever your brand name is, brand fundamentals, whatever it is. Just ensure that you're saving it somewhere in your drive and you can find it. The PDF for this is also available, so you are free to print it and write in the information as we have this session, this tutorial, and then save that somewhere so that you can reference it, because you're gonna be using this information right throughout the series as well as beyond. So brand fundamentals are really about creating a strong foundation. So it's a base of everything that's consumer centric about your brand. What it does is that it positions your products from the customer's perspective. And I know that's sometimes a little challenging for those of us who are entrepreneurs and those of us who are creatives, in that we tend to think about our businesses and our products and our services in kind of very kind of self in a more self-centric manner. So we think about what we like, or ideals, or preferences, or problems, or solutions. And even though that might be good in terms of motivating you through different stages of business, it is not the best approach when it comes to establishing a business that is sustainable. You have to be very clear on who you're selling to, and you have to develop products and services that meets their needs. So these brand fundamental exercises is really to help to draw attention to ultimately those who will benefit from your products, and those are your customers. So the very first thing that you have to do is to define that customer, right? Who exactly are you serving? And if you can get in as much detail as possible, so things like their age, their gender, if the product is gender specific, certainly in the very early stages, where are they located? Certainly, in 2025, uh, you can sell to anyone, anywhere. But oftentimes when you just launch, you're likely to be launching in a very specific area. When we talk about compliance, for example, that's likely to be in a specific region, in a specific country. And I think it is important, certainly in the first stages, to kind of establish if your customers are going to be in a specific location, and taking that into consideration when it comes to your product range design. Do they have a specific occupation? What about their personal background? So we hear about lifestyle brands, right? That today's consumer wants products that fits into their lifestyle, right? And if they're very busy, or if they're stay-at-home parents, if they're students, if they're older, if they're younger, if they're very active, they want products and services or solutions that speak to their lifestyles. And they want the messaging from your business to also speak to that lifestyle. What are their interests or hobbies, and challenges and pain points? Now, whenever someone pays for something, believe it or not, oftentimes you're paying to solve a problem. Okay, in the case of skincare, hair care, hygiene, beauty, the problem can be very wide and varied, but it oftentimes has to do with well-being, with confidence, with health, with being safe and clean. Normally the pain points are those, and there are specific issues that when they buy your product, they are trying to solve. And you're going to have to think about your products in that way. So you have ideated coming up with a particular product line. Why? What are the problems that your consumer is facing, and why is your product a solution for that? And you have to be very clear from the onset what those are. Are there any preferences? So is their skin type very specific, their hair type, their wellness goals, their personal care goals, are those specific? And it's, again, if you're making body butters, are you making body butters for normal skin, oily skin, dry skin, cracking skin, skin that has certain medical conditions like hyperpigmentation or eczema, combinations? Who are you making these body butters for? It's gonna be very important in understanding, because not everybody uses body butters, and the reason why is that not the solutions that body butters provide, not everyone has that problem. So persons who use body butters tend to have much drier skin. Okay, and if you're going to be making body butters, you have to recognize that you are now serving a specific group that has generally much drier than normal skin, and your language would have to speak to that. Okay, your brand will have to speak to that. Similarly with hair type, wellness goals. So is it moisturizing? Is it anti-aging? Is it clear skin? Are they looking to straighten their hair? Are they looking to reduce the amount of grays in their hair? What are those goals? Do they have preferences when it comes to their product types? Okay, so do they prefer certain types of packaging? Do they prefer products that are more sustainable? So they're organic, no animal testing. Do they have those interests? If they don't have those interests, there's no point spending all the energy in that, right? So I've seen brands, for example, insist that they are going to use certain packaging types, and it may be a personal preference, right? They have a personal commitment to certain packaging types, and because of that, it will increase the cost of the product, as an example. But when they're marketing, they're not marketing necessarily to individuals who can afford a slightly higher price product simply on the basis that the packaging is more expensive. So these are the things that you have to think through. Okay, shopping behavior. So where are they getting their products? How often are they buying the products? And do they generally have a budget? Okay, and communication preferences, which is more around your marketing, but it can still be very, very relevant. Where are they getting their information from? How are they being influenced as to what kinds of products they will buy? And this helps in doing your competitive your competitor research, because that will also tell you what their branding is like and how it speaks to the specific customers that you're probably likely to share. So here are some specific tips. Okay, understanding your competitors' branding is important. There's nothing new under the sun. There might be some slight variations, but there really is very, very, very little that's new, especially if you are an independent brand that's doing this from home or from a small commercial space. You are likely not investing into cutting edge research. Okay, so you are looking at similar formulations on the internet. You may have gotten some training from an institution or from an online course. You are not investing into the development of innovative ingredients, that you have to synthesize in a lab to utilize. That's not what you are doing. So it is very likely that you have several competitors who have similar products on the market and that are doing very, very well. You need to gain insight into the kinds of customers and what the challenges those customers are having based on what you're seeing on your competitors' websites or on their social media platforms, or even on marketplaces like Amazon. Okay, so what you're going to do to better understand your customer is that you're going to try to find some of those competitors, and then you are going to have a quick look at reviews or commentary, or go on social media, see what the comments are, and then you're going to see if you can figure out exactly what are the challenges that they're facing, and you're going to pay very specific attention also to where the competitor may be falling short, because it may then give you a competitive advantage. So let us go, for example, back to packaging. Let's say you're coming up with a body butter, and there's one particular brand who has a range of body butters that are doing very, very well. And you go onto their Amazon products and you look at their reviews. Just click on reviews 1 and 2. And let's see, you see all the time that people complain that the product comes in, when it is shipped in, the product is starting to leak out of the jar, or the product is not it doesn't lend well to the eyes, right? So it doesn't look appealing. Even though the product might be good, it doesn't look appealing. This is potentially a way that you could have a competitive edge, right? Because you're seeing where they may fall short. So you may look at packaging that helps to reduce that, and you can use that as a competitive advantage. So you can get your body scrubs, without the mess, right? Could be a very kind of competitive advantage that you may give yourself. The second tip is if you have existing customers, and if they're repeat customers, that means that is your ideal customer. So you can build out your customer avatar worksheet based on your existing customer. So if you tend to have women of a certain age, of a certain lifestyle, certain purchasing behavior, they're buying your products once a month, twice a month, and they're spending on average $60. That is your ideal customer, and you need to be developing a brand to suit that, because they're the ones who are going to buy your products. Okay. Now I'm going to give you an example, just so that it makes sense in real life. Okay. So I am now playing let's say I'm going to be, I'm a nail technician. Okay. So I have a small practice where I do pedicures, deep treatment, and manicures and pedicures, typically for very professional, or highly professional, busy people. And I notice increasingly that I am getting lots of men coming in for pedicures, right? Particularly. And one of the things that I've noticed is that these men will have really dry feet, sometimes to the point where it may require medical attention. And oftentimes that's when they finally come, when it's on the verge of becoming something where they need to see a doctor. Or they have seen a doctor and a doctor says to them, okay, after this treatment, you need to be taking better care of your feet. So they're coming in for, this kind of soothing, relieving, moisturizing type of deep treatment. And they tend to, just in conversation, they tend to always work on their feet. So they're either, technicians themselves. They might be chefs or cooks. They may be drivers. So they're up and about all the time, always on their feet. So their feet takes a lot of work. And you have been, I say I, just hypothetically, I have been a nail technician for 15 years, and I know that there are certain products that work for this kind of clientele or customer. There are certain products that I know work. There are certain ingredients that I know work, and they do the job. But one of the concerns that I have as a nail technician is that when they leave my practice and they come back, it's almost as if they're starting from scratch, because they just totally forget that, like the rest of your body, your feet also need care. And when you get to the stage where it's so bad, there needs to be continuous care. Okay. So I have thought, and even though I've been buying products, using products in my practice for years, and I know they work, the truth is when they leave, I know that there aren't many male-centric type products for hands and feet. So I have come up with this creative idea that I'm going to come up with a range specifically targeting men who are busy on their feet, who don't have the time to give themselves a mini pedicure for 20 minutes every day. They don't have that time. So they need something that works, but they also want something that will not prevent them from going about their busy day. So they don't want anything that's too greasy, or something that maybe smells too strong, or they don't want anything that is too they're concerned that, oh, this is a lot of chemical I'm gonna have to be using every day. So it has to be natural, right? It has to be It has to be something that they can use sustainably without too much guilt, right? So I've come up with this idea to come up with a range of products specifically for men, and to keep their feet in the best possible condition in between them coming to me, or potentially to prevent them from having to go to a doctor, right? So this is what I mean when I say understanding your customer is very important. I'm not just coming up with products so you can do your manicures and pedicures at home. No, I'm coming up with products for a very specific person who has a specific lifestyle, who has a specific problem that my products are going to solve. Very, very specific. And this is a way you need to think about coming up with your own products. They have to be specific for someone, right? It can't be just, oh, I know I can make body butters, so I'm going to make body butters. It has to be, I know that this particular person is having a hard time, and I know there are many persons like that who is having a hard time with this particular personal care issue, and I want to create a solution for that. Okay, and that is what the customer avatar should help you to do. Another tool that I did not mention that can be very helpful is ChatGPT. There are lots of different AI tools out there, so you don't have to only use ChatGPT, but I recommend it. It's free, easy to use, but you can certainly test others. So I've opened up my chat. So all you need to do is to go to openai.com or chatgpt.com and sign in. You can sign in with a Google account or Apple ID or Microsoft account, and it's free. There's a paid version which gives you a whole lot more flexibility. So you can, for example, you could attach a formulation and ask ChatGPT to develop a sales page based on the formulation. That kind of nuance is possible. But for this particular exercise, it's not necessary. The free version is perfectly fine. And I'm just gonna go in and use one of these prompts. So I've created some prompts, ChatGPT prompts. So if you struggle in trying to figure out what to ask ChatGPT, here are some prompts. And priming ChatGPT also helps as well. So you could say to ChatGPT, for example, you are a product development and branding specialist in the skincare, or you can even be more specific. You could say in the in branding specialist in the hands and feet care area, just to kind of tell it, so it isn't opening its, I say, mind to everything skincare and hair care. It is just narrowing itself in the same way you have narrowed your niche down. You can tell it, listen, you're going to narrow yourself. Narrowing is not only about the sector or the kinds of products, but it can also be the part of your business. So if you want it to act as a formulator, you need to tell it that you're a cosmetic chemist, you are a marketing specialist, you're a graphic designer, you're a lawyer, you're a human resource specialist, focusing on recruitment of talent for small independent skincare and hair care brands. So you kind of prime it, so it kind of narrows its direction, and it adds a skill set that you may not yourself have. Okay, I'm a scientist, I'm not a branding specialist. I do product development, it's a part of what I do, but I'm not a branding specialist per se. So I like to tell it to be what I am not, just so that it can support me as well. Okay, and then you can just try these and see what information it will give you about your customer avatar. So I'm gonna use this one as an example. Okay, so you can give it a website. So I've inserted this, and I'm gonna give it some details. So I specialize in the product type. So my idea, so I've not yet developed my brand. If you have developed your brand, if you have products on the market, perfect, go ahead and put your information in. If you've not yet fully thought through or articulated your brand fundamentals, this is a perfect time to do this, right? But I'm just using myself as an example. I don't have a product yet on the market. I'm going through this exercise. I may be working on formulations on the side. So I'm now kind of working on the brand component because I have already market, right? I have men who come and get their treatment all the time. So I can start having that kind of discussion around what's coming with them, okay? So I specialize, let's just say, in creams, cleansers, soaps, and yeah, that's fine. Tailored for busy men with dry feet. I'm very careful to use terms that could speak to treatment, okay? So things like aching feet, cracked feet, could be seen more as cosmeceutical, and we do have to be careful. And if you're going to go that route, that's fine. You can just go through the necessary registrations in your area just to ensure that you are compliant. But I want to be careful not to use terms, and this is for my brand, that will suggest that I'm healing or treating feet. Instead, what I'm doing is supporting just general care of feet, right? But I'm gonna put hands and feet, okay? Okay, here's an example of a competing product. So what I did, I went to Amazon. Let me just do it here just so you see. So I went to Amazon and I'm gonna type in, you see there, foot moisturizer for dry cracked feet. I'm just putting that in there. And I'm going to look for something that has lots of reviews, right? Lots of reviews means that it is clearly a very strong brand that has established itself in the marketplace, people of the product. So lots of reviews and lots of high reviews. So these are all examples of really, really good competing products that you can get so much from, okay? So I'm going to pick this one, but I'm going to not only click on the link, I'm going to, on the product information page, I'm going to click on the reviews page because I'm trying to learn about my customer. What is it that my competitors' customers like about that product? And if you have not done this for your brand, if you already have products on the market and you have not, and especially if you're in the B2C space or you're selling direct to consumer and you have not done this kind of competitive research, competitive market research, it means that you're leaving so much money on the table because the customers are telling the big brands what they like about those brands. And you need to learn from that. You also need to learn from the things that they don't like. So when I mentioned earlier, click on the 1 star and let's see what they're talking about, right? Gentle relief claim is a misleading policy. This is a reason why we have to be careful, especially if we're in the cosmetic space versus cosmeceutical or medical space, that we don't make claims. Because when you do make claims, this is kind of what happens. Unless you have the evidence that it does what it says it will do, and that you have been certified to do that, then it could be problematic. Cause a rash on the armpit, not sure why it's on the armpit, not sure, because it shouldn't be used on the armpit. My feet were soft and beautiful, now they're dry and horrible, so it probably means that there's some ingredient in it that someone may have a reaction to, this person may have a reaction to. This is what helps, right? So you could even dangerous ingredients, some of them include ingredients that that people are allergic to. So clearly, even though this is a very, very high performing product that has done some amazing things, based on the low reviews, there are ingredients that seem to be problematic, right? So there might be a space or a niche where persons are looking for creams for their feet that has ingredients that they don't have to be concerned about, right? And this is where you could potentially differentiate yourself in the marketplace. Bad ingredient it came open and was already used. It did not work. But you know, by and large, the reviews are amazing. They're phenomenal, right? The reviews are phenomenal. So what I'm gonna share with ChatGPT is the reviews page, just page one, because there are so many reviews. There are 80,000 reviews. We can't share all of that with ChatGPT, but we could share a couple, right? So let me include, I'm just gonna include 2 pages of reviews, and I'm gonna go to next page. Okay, there we go. And then it says, I'm going to take this out. Describe my customer avatar based on the type of customers that would use my competitors' products. And let's see what ChatGPT says. All right. So typically younger people, 25 to 55, but there's a slightly skew towards the older end. Okay. So that's important, right? These men, so it's focusing on men. These men are likely to have physical jobs or hobbies, construction, manual labor, outdoor work, or to be very involved in athletic activities. I mean, this is gold, right? Because what this is telling you is where could you potentially find your customers, right? So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that there is a big construction conference that happens in your community every year, right? It's a place to go if you're in construction. And normally these conferences will have exhibitors. And I can bet you probably don't have anybody exhibiting all natural, safe ingredients, made with love products for the feet of or hard working men. I can bet you're not seeing that at a construction conference. And why aren't you seeing it at a construction conference? Largely because nobody has just kind of paid attention, or, is kind of doing this kind of market research, right? Middle to high income range, so working professionals. So in other words, they can afford to buy their face lotion separate from their body lotion, separate from their feet lotion, right? Occupation, here we go. Family, they tend to be married, and if you read through the reviews, you will see that, like a woman will say, I bought this for my husband, I bought this for my boyfriend. So clearly they're very family oriented, as well. Also notice they're very busy and require practical, no nonsense solutions for self-care. So whereas the female demographic might be very open to having 100 different fragrance versions or variations for a particular product, you may find that this demographic is not interested in that. They just want something that works. Okay. They value functionality over luxury. No frill solution, comfort relief from pain, long lasting is important to them. They will struggle with dry feet, cracked skin, calluses, discomfort due to the physical nature of their work, and they oftentimes have little time for self-care and prefer products that deliver noticeable results without going for a long, complicated application process. So even that, you can think about when you're coming up with a solution, do they have time for a 4-step solution? They probably don't. They probably just want one thing they can quickly put on right before they put on their socks and their boots. No nonsense, straightforward, practical, focused on results. They want to feel good without having to spend too much time. They're not particularly concerned with branding and aesthetics. What are their behaviors, right? They're motivated by really solutions that are quick. They tend to buy online on platforms like Amazon, and they need reviews to verify that the product is effective. And that can be very, very important in, again, what influences their decision-making process. They're loyal, so once they found a product that works, they come back over and over and over again. Pain points: dried, cracked skin, that causes some discomfort, maybe even pain. They have limited time to dedicate to personal care. Frustration with products that don't deliver the promised results. They prefer that the product doesn't require several applications for the day, sensitivity to greasiness or heavy creams and lotions that leave a residue. Because you really need, these men who are on their feet all the day, they have to feel comfortable, right? So they don't want to add a cream that's going to leave so much residue and greasiness that they're very kind of sensitive to that. They want to be pain free, just want to go through their day without having to think about their feet. They want to have smooth skin. They want to maintain their own well being because they're hardworking, working for themselves, working for their family. So they always want to be in the best shape, right? And they want to feel confident that their products are effective and worth the money. Okay. The ideal customer for the product values practical, well aligned products that address specific needs and they don't want complication. So the brand voice, straightforward, empathetic, understanding tone will resonate. Easy to use, long lasting, practical self care solutions for hardworking men. These are kind of the terms that if you're not putting that on your labels, then you're not talking to them because this is a voice that connects with them, okay? And we know this because a product that, let's see I don't know how many it's sold. Let's see if it will tell me. It may not tell me. The number is probably so big that they won't. Let's see. 5,000. No, wrong. I'm looking at this one. It doesn't even tell me how many were 10,000 bought in the last month alone. Okay, so this product is selling, right? This is doing well. And here is a custom avatar. You can even tell ChatGPT if you had the paid version and if you have the budget, pay for it. You could just attach the document that the actual tool and tell ChatGPT to fill it out for you. Okay, so it does all the work for you. Okay, and then you can go through and review and assess, right? So it's saying 42, plumber, married, father of two, earns about $55,000 a year, spends all day working with hands in harsh conditions, which leaves the skin cracked, dry, painful. By the end of the day, he's achy and tired of using products that don't provide a relief or doesn't fit into the busy schedule. The motivation, looking for a product that works quickly and delivers the results and that fits into the routine without over application. Joe is willing to spend on high quality products that won't waste, and he doesn't want to waste money on gimmicks. And once he finds a product that works, he will stick to it. He values practicality, effectiveness, no nonsense messaging, doesn't care about fancy packaging. So you don't need to worry about, this is why this is important, because if you start kind of at the other end, you waste all of this time creating something that's over the top, and at the end of the day, Joe doesn't really care, right? Joe just wants something that works, and what Joe is more interested in is hearing from people who says it works. Okay. Strong customer loyalty is one of the major traits, and that makes for good business. If you have not done this kind of exercise, you need to do it. Okay, so spend the time as you go through your fundamentals in leveraging AI, in leveraging all the information that is out there so that it can help you in this designing your own brand. Then we're going to go on to brand identity. Now, brand identity is really about what identifies your brand in the marketplace. So if you think about your brand as a person, think about yourself. What is your identity? Your identity is defined by your essence, your values, what makes you unique, what your skills are, what your talents are, what your commitments are. That's what defines you. But it's pretty much the same thing with a brand. Okay? What is its essence? What are its values? What makes it unique? Target audience, so who is our family? Who is sticking to us all the time, and what defines them? It's the same with a brand. Who is gonna stick to your brand all the time? What are the trends and what are the visual elements as well? Okay, so the brand essence, define the essence of your brand in a few words or phrases. The personality is very important, right? So Is your personality fun, right? Joe is not necessarily interested in a brand that is fun. Joe is interested in a personality that is no nonsense, very direct. Um, Joe is interested in a personality that is based on facts. That's the kind of because it's probably that's the kind of personality that Joe is. A personality that's hardworking. That's a kind of personality. And there's a guide. You can click on the link, and it will give you some examples that you can think about. Also interested. Joe would also be interested in a kind of confident, hardworking, energetic, industrious. Those are kind of the personality traits of Joe. And Joe will be attracted to a brand that also has similar personality traits. Okay? Brand voice is also going to be very important because remember, your words and your design are literally the words that is speaking to a Joe. Okay, so what will that voice or that tone sound like? It wouldn't be luxurious, right? Joe is not interested in a luxury brand, right? Joe is interested in a confident brand, in an empowering brand, right? In maybe in a mature brand, right? Um, Timeless. These are kinds of the tone, a kind of educated and intelligent, no nonsense tone. That's the kind of voice that Joe is probably interested in. And you have to establish what the voice would be for your brand if you have not already done so. The brand story I told, right? So I became a persona as a nail technician who's increasingly seeing men coming in, oftentimes on the verge of medical treatment or under the advice of a medical doctor, or under the advice of their wife, or daughter or something like that. And crafting that story gives credibility to your brand, right? Because if you are an esthetician, if you are a hairdresser, if you are a cosmetic formulator, if you're a scientist, if you are a mother of young children, and you have lived this and you have come up with these solutions because you have lived this, that also gives credence to your brand. And what it does is that it quickly helps to build trust. So documenting your brand story is gonna be very, very important. What are your values as well? So what are the core decisions that help to drive that? So a commitment to inclusivity, a commitment to supporting to inclusivity, as I mentioned. So ensuring that there are solutions for groups that oftentimes there aren't many solutions, like men. Okay. um Things such as authenticity, things as science backed solutions. Those values are going to be very important in the case that I'm describing. What's a unique selling proposition? So this is now where you're going to figure out, okay, what makes you better than O'Keeffe's? And that's a very difficult question to answer, but you have to think about that, right? So you have to think about what it is that will make it different, right? So one thing that could make it different, so if you're a nail therapist, one of the things that may be a standout component is that it is based on your 15 years of experience. Um, the specific ingredients, as we read before, right? That some of the ingredients were questionable, and maybe looking to replace or substitute these kinds of problematic ingredients would also be very helpful. Even things such as, made with love can be a very differentiating factor. Lots of men at end up getting a pedicure really out of love, right? Their loved ones say, I'm gonna treat you. This is getting out of hand. Let's get this done. It out of love. You too deserve care, right? Deserve self-care and some attention and some relaxation, and to not feel ache and pain even though you're hardworking. A lot of that is out of the concept of love, right? And that can be something that differentiates. I mean, O'Keeffe's Healthy Feet Cream, it works, but it certainly doesn't necessarily inspire love, right? When you look at it, it's very stark, very clinical. which is okay, right? And that's also a part of its differentiating factor. So these are the things you can think through as you're developing your own. What are the competing brands? Easy to find competitors on the marketplace. All the market data is out there on Amazon, on any of these. You can go into a pharmacy, have a look on the shelf, just make a note of all the competing products, head back home, go onto their social media pages, go onto their website. You're likely to find reviews. You can check the news. The news may speak to persons who have used, or you may hear sometimes the management of a lot of these big firms will talk about their new strategic directions, and oftentimes those strategic directions are as a result of what their customers are telling them. So there's so much information that's on the internet now. Nobody should be out there blind. Okay, you should know exactly who you're supporting. Eucerin, very well established company. There are some what I'd call less popular brands as well, but also bear those in mind as well. So lots of market data around your competitors. Visual identity. So this is now where we're now transitioning into the standout brand, because ultimately your consumer will not be reading your brand fundamentals before they make a buying decision. They will see your product on a shelf, they will come to an expo, you're presenting, or they'll go into a store, or they'll go to their nail technician, and the nail technician will be using the products, and they'll have such a great experience, and then they'll be like, what's that? And they get a jar, and they're going to make some assumptions about your brand based on how it looks. So the visual identity is going to be very, very important. And we're talking about logo, color palette, typography, any visual components, because ultimately these products are bought first with eyes based on what they see. So you go on Amazon, it is what they see that they use. They don't have an opportunity to test your product. Most times, if they even go to the pharmacy or to a supermarket, they don't have the chance to open and test your product. It's just based on what they see. So visual identity is so important. Do not assume that you can just slap on any label and think you're going to gain traction. You're not going to. So number one, if you don't have brand fundamentals, that means that you're selling to nobody, because you're selling to everybody. And two, if you don't convert those brand fundamentals into a strong visual identity, you're going to gain no traction. Okay? So what would the logo look like? What would the typography look like? The color palette, the icons and the illustrations. Now, I am suggesting, and I have some tips here, not tips, but it's in the prompts, that you try to answer these questions by looking at your competitors. So let's go back to Amazon. And there are some things that are glaring, okay? So in just scanning through, there are certain things that I would say are in terms of the visual identity that are common. What would you say those things are? The color blue. For whatever reason, the color blue is very prominent. Blue, 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 blue. Blue and green. Blue, green. Blue, green. You might have a hint of red. Blue, green. Hint of red. Blue. And there, I'm sure there's some reason for it. I'm no color psychologist, but it's something I believe you should not ignore. Okay? So going back to my persona, if I'm going to develop this product, it's going to be blue. It's going to be blue, green, maybe a hint of red. No question in my mind, because the competitors, clearly this blue is speaking. And I think what it is that blue tends to be a kind of clinical color. You know, when you go to the hospital, for whatever reason, the sheets or I don't know what they call it, the overall that they put on is always a blue or green. So there's something about, or even if you go to a doctor's office, it's always something about this light blue that, you know, is on the walls, and the furniture will have a blue gray. And I think what it is that it's clinical. So it's what it speaks to is that, listen, this works. This is well established that this is going to work. This is a treatment. Without saying treatment, your brain connects that, oh, this must be some kind of treatment because it is blue, right? It is going to heal me because we associate blue with the hospital, with doctors. It's clinical. The hints of red, I think, is just a contrast to kind of draw certain things to your mind. And if you notice again, it's the brand name. The brand name, right? So it pulls out the brand name. So even with Dr. Scholl's, I mean, Dr. Scholl's is a very well developed brand. It can probably get away with using a blue around the logo. Carousel, there's always something pulling out the logo, right? Red again, pulling out that logo. The other thing about it, when you look at the fonts, okay? So if you look at this font, very easy to read. You don't have to squint too hard. The fonts are clear. There is no swoosh and calligraphy. It's clear, sans serif, I think is what they call it. You just, if you glance at it, you remember what it says, okay? I think this may be the only one that I'd say is a little bit on the unique side in terms of the fonts and the colors. It has a slightly, more gentler appeal to the design, I would say, but by and large, right across. Just look at them. You can quickly see the fonts. The next thing is the brand name is always very clear. It's generally very clear and highlighted, but also the function of the product, what the product does, right? So remedy balm as opposed to foot balm, right? Healthy feet as opposed to foot cream, right? That kind of terminology, dry, flaky skin remover, I think is what that says. So it is selling the promise as a product name. And I think those trends are very essential in you designing what your brand should look like. So recognize, I'm a nail technician. I probably, my spa or my practice is light pink with orchids, and the seats that my clients sit in, it's nice and cushy and white with those little sparkly buttons and gold legs, and it's fancy. And yes, I'm gonna make something that will be my brand, but I can't make my brand light and white pink with silver accents and calligraphic writing with a picture of an orchid to men who are just trying to find solutions for their feet. Okay? And this is how the brand connects, okay? What else would I say? In some cases, you see the kind of the active ingredient, which again, if we're in cosmetic space, you don't have to put that, but that could be an important consideration. So the actual ingredients that may be lending to the activity or the bioactivity or the functionality of the product also tends to be highlighted on the product as well. So tea tree, urea, salicylic acid are all there. Some of them make some claims, so immediate visible results. Now, sometimes to be able to make those claims, you have to get them registered in a specific way. So you can just do your research. Clinically proven. So making those kinds of statements are very important to convince Joe that this works, okay? Because Joe is gonna need some convincing. See, this is something here that says eczema something. It says accepted by the National Eczema Association. So social proof and evidence clearly is very important in this space. Foot magic, foot therapy. See those names, right? Very, very cracked heel stick. Very, the product name is a solution. It's not just saying stick or cream or balm. It's saying this is a solution you're gonna get. Your heel is gonna be treated. Your rough, cracked skin is gonna be better, right? It's telling you that from the get-go. All right, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT to also, because there might be some trends that I'm not seeing. So I'm gonna go down to ChatGPT and I'm going to say, see if it can pick up. Um, I'm trying to think. I have a. Let's see. Okay, so I don't seem to have a prompt specifically for that, but I'll just type into ChatGPT. I'll update the document. So I'm going to say, okay, great. Um, please see below link to a list of products from my competitors. Provide a summary of the trends in visual identity of my competitors. This could include I'll just go ahead and, oops. This could include logo, typography, which really means fonts, color palettes, visual motifs, and any other visual elements that appeals or lends to my customer avatar. Joe. Okay, and then I'm just gonna copy and paste this link. All right, and let's see what ChatGPT says. All right, so logo design, most competitors in the foot care market, especially for products targeting dry, cracked feet, opt for simple, clean logos. Okay, nothing complex, nothing. They call them what's the logos that are just letters? It has nothing else. I forget what the term is, but simple, minimalist, straightforward typography, or there might be some stylized symbols that represent feet, hydration, or relief. Simple. Common motifs include footprints, water droplets, healing hands. Okay? Appeal to Joe. Joe is no nonsense. Clear messaging. He'd appreciate a logo that is simple yet powerful. Okay? And a logo that connects with the function will draw his attention. Typography. They are typically bold and straightforward. Okay? So many men favor strong sans serif fonts that convey reliability, strength, hard working, practical nature of the target audience. So fonts like, and it's even given some examples, is great. So it gives a modern, bold, and clean look. Color palettes tend towards a skew a darker, more muted tone. So navy blue, charcoal, forest green, brown. Okay, not pink, not gold, not aqua, right? So deeper, kind of tones. And some products may also include medical inspired colors like white or clinical blues. Right? Blues tend to communicate healing and efficiency. Okay, so Joe will respond to these, masculine functional colors. They're practical, hardworking, without the fluff, effective, straightforward, not overly fancy colors like pastel shades. Because a pastel shade will disconnect most men, right? They will kind of disconnect themselves from, oh, that must be for women only because it's in a pastel color. Okay, so you want to use something that will attract them. Especially, again, if you're appealing, and I don't think it matters, right? If you're appealing to women who will buy it for their men, so let's say you already have a line for women and you want to now add these options for men. You may still want to keep some of the softer elements, because at the end of the day, their wives or their girlfriends might be buying it. I don't know, their partners, whatever the case is, but just think through those areas. So packaging and bottle design often features functional, robust designs. Tubes and pumps are common. Large, clear labels that show the product benefits. Plastics and squeezable tubes and bottles are preferred over glass. So again, when I talk about your product choice, right? So if you decide, okay, I'm gonna put this in glass, is that what Joe wants? Right? And if you're gonna put it in glass, yes, you may certainly have a buyer that's interested in glass, but you have to rationalize, what will that mean for your messaging, okay, and your customer avatar. Direct, practical tones, intense repair, long lasting, quick relief, tough skin, problem solving kind of terminology is what they want. The medical and clinical feel is going to be very important, okay. So it's not just a cosmetic, but it is a functional product, and that is what is going to be important for Joe, okay. So that takes us to the end. I will be using Joe and my line of products for Joe's feet throughout this exercise, just so that it helps to inspire you on how you can better connect your brand fundamentals and the articulation of those to ensure that they're lining almost perfectly to that customer who will benefit from your products. See you in the next step.